This just crossed a line. And now there's no going back. Because what started as rumors turned into whispers and has now exploded into something that could destroy careers overnight. And the name at the center of this chaos? Cardi B. But here's where it gets even crazier. This isn't coming from a rival, not from a blogger, not even from the media. This came from someone who was once inside her circle. Someone who knew everything. Her former manager. And what they just did? Nobody saw it coming. Because according to multiple sources, they didn't just speak out. They leaked it. 8 full minutes. 8 minutes of unreleased footage from 50 Cent's explosive documentary. 8 minutes that were never supposed to be seen. And the moment it hit the internet, everything changed. Phones started ringing, accounts started disappearing. And suddenly, people weren't just watching anymore, they were panicking. Because this footage, it doesn't just hint at drama, it exposes conversations. Real conversations. Behind-the-scenes moments that raise one terrifying question. What exactly was Cardi B involved in? And why would someone from her own team risk everything to put this out? Was this revenge? A warning? Or something much bigger? Because here's the part that has everyone losing their minds. Some insiders are claiming this leak wasn't random, it was timed. Perfectly. And if that's true, then this isn't just a scandal, it's a setup. Stay with me. Because what's inside those 8 minutes might be the most shocking thing we've seen yet. And trust me, this story is about to get a whole lot darker. To really understand why the situation feels so explosive right now, you have to look beneath the surface. Because this didn't just start with an 8-minute leak. This is years of tension, secrets, and behind-the-scenes power moves finally boiling over. And right at the center of this storm, Cardi B, one of the most dominant, outspoken, and unpredictable figures in the music industry. From the very beginning of her career, she built her brand on being real, unfiltered, unapologetic. She said what she wanted, did what she wanted, and fans loved her for it. But behind all that confidence, there was always a team, managers, advisors, people who helped shape the moves we didn't see. And that's where things start to get complicated. Because when you rise that fast, not everyone around you stays loyal. Over the years, there have been whispers, even subtle signs that not everything behind the scenes was as smooth as it looked. Contracts changing, people quietly disappearing from her circle. Sudden shifts in her team that were never fully explained. At the time, fans didn't think much of it, because success comes with changes, right? But now, those same changes are being looked at very differently, because one of those people, one of those former insiders, is now at the center of this entire storm. Her former manager. The same person who reportedly just leaked those 8 minutes from 50 Cent's documentary. And here's what makes this even more intense. This isn't someone random. This is someone who had access. Access to conversations, access to decisions, access to moments that the public was never supposed to see, which raises a serious question. What do they know? That made them risk everything? Because leaking footage like this? That's not just drama, that's dangerous. Legally, professionally, personally. And yet, they did it anyway. Now let's bring 50 Cent back into the picture, because his documentary has already been surrounded by controversy. Even before this leak, there were already rumors that it contained sensitive material, unreleased footage, private conversations, things that could make people very uncomfortable. And when you combine that with someone from Cardi's inner circle, you start to see why this situation feels different. Because this isn't just outside speculation anymore, this is internal, personal, and possibly intentional. But here's where things get even more interesting. Because according to so-called insiders, the relationship between Cardi B and this former manager didn't end well, not quietly, not cleanly. There were disagreements, creative differences, and according to some reports, trust was broken. Now we don't know exactly what happened, but one thing is clear. Something went wrong, and whatever it was, it didn't stay buried, because if it had, we wouldn't be here right now. And then there's the timing. This is what has people really suspicious, because this leak didn't happen randomly. It didn't happen months ago. It happened now, right when 50 Cent's documentary is already under heavy attention, right when rumors are spreading, right when the industry is already on edge. So you have to ask yourself, why now? Why release something this explosive at this exact moment? Was it to expose something? To protect something? Or to distract from something even bigger? Because in situations like this, timing is never accidental, it's strategic. And the more people dig into this, the more patterns they think they're seeing. Old interviews being revisited, past collaborations being questioned, moments that once seemed harmless, now being viewed through a completely different lens. Because if those 8 minutes contain what people are claiming, then this isn't just about one artist. It's about connections, relationships, and things that were happening behind closed doors. But here's the part that's making everyone uneasy. Some fans are starting to believe that this leak wasn't meant for the public. Not really. They think it was meant for someone else. A message, a warning. Something that says, I know what's in that documentary. And if that's true, then this situation is way more serious than it looks, because it means there are people involved who don't want this footage out at all. And now, it is. Out there. Being watched, shared, analyzed. And the more people watch it, the more questions they have. Because nothing about this feels random anymore. Not the leak, not the timing, not the people involved. It all feels connected, like pieces of a puzzle that we're only just starting to put together. And the deeper we go, the more uncomfortable it gets. Because if those 8 minutes are just a small part of the full documentary, then what else is still hidden? What else hasn't been seen yet? And more importantly, who else is connected to all of this? Because right now, it feels like we're only scratching the surface. And something tells me what's coming next is going to change everything. Everything spiraled out of control the second those 8 minutes hit the internet. Not rumors, not screenshots, not edited clips. A full 8-minute segment. Raw, unfiltered. And according to people who saw it first, absolutely devastating. The video didn't drop on a major platform, no. It appeared quietly. A private Telegram channel. No watermark, no branding. Just a file titled, Final Cut, Do Not Release. And that alone was enough to make people click. But what they saw next, that's what changed everything. Because the footage allegedly opened with behind-the-scenes clips from 50 Cent's documentary. Not the polished version, not the edited narrative. This was raw footage. Camera angles shifting, the background noise. People speaking when they didn't realize they were being recorded. And within the first minute, a familiar name was mentioned. Cardi B. Not casually, not in passing, directly. And the tone? Serious, too serious. The voice, still unclear who it belonged to, Anna said, she knows more than she lets on. That one sentence? That's when viewers froze. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about industry drama, it felt personal. Then the footage cut to a different scene. A private meeting, dim lighting, at least 3 people in the room. Faces partially blurred, voices lowered, and one of them said something that sent chills through everyone watching. If this comes out, it's not just her, it's all of us. Wait, all of us? Now the situation escalated instantly. Because what does that mean? Who is all of us? And what exactly are they referring to? But before viewers could process that, the footage jumped again, this time to what appeared to be a phone call recording. Distorted audio, but still clear enough to catch key phrases. And in that call A voice, allegedly linked to someone from Cardi's former team, said, "He's putting everything in there. Names, deals, even the stuff from 2019. 2019? Now that got people digging fast, because fans immediately started connecting that to past controversies. Old rumors, moments that were never fully explained, and suddenly, everything started lining up in a way that made people uncomfortable. But here's where it gets even more intense, because around the 4-minute mark, the footage showed something completely unexpected. A clip of 50 Cent himself, not in an interview, not speaking to the camera, just sitting, listening. While someone off camera said, "You sure you want to include that? That's going to start something you can't stop." And his response? Calm, cold, almost chilling. It already started. That line, that changed everything. Because now it didn't feel like this was accidental, it felt deliberate. Like he knew what would happen, like he was ready for it. And then came the moment that pushed everything over the edge. Because near the end of the 8-minute clip, there was a segment that people are still arguing about. Some say it's real, others say it's edited. But if it is real, then this is where the first major twist hits. The footage allegedly showed a conversation involving someone believed to be Cardi B's former manager. The same person accused of leaking the video. And in that conversation, they said something that nobody expected. She wasn't supposed to be part of this, but she got pulled in. Wait, what? Now everything flipped. Because up until this point, people were assuming involvement, control, knowledge. But this suggests something else entirely, that maybe Cardi B wasn't leading anything, but was somehow dragged into something bigger, something she couldn't control. And now the narrative started splitting. Some people saying she knew exactly what was going on, others saying no, she got caught in the middle. And that division, that's what made this situation even more explosive, because now it's not just about what happened. It's about who is telling the truth, but it doesn't stop there. Because within hours of this clip going viral, something strange happened. The original upload? Gone. Deleted. The Telegram channel? Wiped. Accounts sharing it? Suspended. Almost like someone was trying to erase it. Fast. But it was too late. Because once something spreads like that, you can't contain it. Re-uploads started appearing everywhere. Different versions, different edits. People slowing it down, enhancing audio, trying to figure out every detail, every voice, every word, because everyone is looking for answers. But instead, they're finding more questions. And the biggest one right now? Why would her former manager leak this? Because this isn't just risky, it's self-destructive. Unless there's a reason, a bigger reason. Because what if this wasn't just a leak? What if this was retaliation? Or worse, what if it was a move to expose something before someone else could? Because if that's true, then this story isn't just about what's in those 8 minutes. It's about what's coming next. And trust me, based on what's already out there, whatever comes next might be even worse. If you thought those 8 minutes were the peak, you were wrong. Because what happened next didn't just escalate the situation. It completely redefined it. Within hours of the leak going viral, new fragments started appearing. Not the full clip this time, but pieces, shorter segments, different angles. Almost like someone was slowly releasing more on purpose. And that's when people started realizing something terrifying. Those 8 minutes weren't the whole leak. They were just the beginning. Because a second wave of footage began circulating, and this time it hit even harder. The clip opened with a timestamp. Different date, a different location, and a completely different tone. Because now, it wasn't just conversations, it was confrontation, raised voices, tension so thick you could feel it through the screen. And in that footage, A voice, believed by some to be linked to someone close to Cardi B, said something that immediately went viral. "You don't understand. Once this drops, nobody's safe. Not even him." Him. Now the focus shifted instantly. Because who is him? Are they talking about 50 Cent? Or someone even more powerful? Because of the tone in that statement? It wasn't fear, it was certainty. And that's what made it so unsettling. But here's where things take a darker turn. Because as more clips surfaced, people started noticing patterns, recurring names, repeated references to specific years, mentions of deals, meetings, and moments that, at the time, didn't seem important. But now, they look like pieces of something much bigger, almost like a timeline, a hidden story unfolding through fragments. And then, the shocking reveal dropped. A third clip. Short, but devastating. Because in this one, there was no distortion, no heavy editing. Just a clear shot of a document on a table. A real document with visible text. Blurry in parts, but readable enough to cause absolute chaos. Because according to people who analyzed it, the document allegedly contained a list, not just names, but roles, connections. And next to some of those names, symbols, marks, indicators that suggested something deeper, something organized, something intentional. And here's the part that made everyone freeze. One of the names on that list, was rumored to be directly linked to someone from Cardi B's inner circle. Not confirmed, but enough for the internet to explode. Because if that's true, then this isn't just about her anymore. This is about her entire network and what they may or may not be connected to. Now, social media didn't just react, it erupted. Threads started appearing, breaking down every frame of the clip. Zoom-ins, enhancements, side-by-side comparisons, people trying to decode everything. And then, a new hashtag started trending. Hashtag the list. Yeah, that document, it became the center of everything. Because now people weren't just asking questions. They were demanding answers. And in the middle of all this chaos, something unexpected happened. A verified account, believed to be associated with someone in the industry, posted a message that only made things worse. Y'all focused on the wrong person. The real story hasn't even started yet. Wait, what? Now everything shifted again. Because if this isn't the real story, then what is? What are we missing? And more importantly, who are we not looking at? But then came the moment that changed the entire narrative. Because a fourth clip surfaced, and this one was different. It allegedly showed a private conversation involving someone very close to 50 Cent. Not a rival, not an outsider. Someone from his own side. And in that conversation, they said something that shook everyone watching. He didn't make this alone, and he's not the one in control. Silence. That's what followed. Because suddenly, everything people thought they knew fell apart. Because up until now, the assumption was simple. 50 Cent created the documentary. He exposed people. Might he controlled the narrative. But this suggests something completely different. That maybe he's not the mastermind. Maybe he's part of something bigger. Something he can't fully control. And that possibility, that's what's making people nervous. Because if that's true, then this situation is way more serious than anyone thought. Because it means there are forces behind the scenes. People we haven't seen, people we haven't heard, people who might be pulling the strings. And now, everyone is looking deeper, questioning everything, every clip, every statement, every silence. Because nothing feels clear anymore. Not the leak, not the motivations, not even the people involved. And just when it felt like things couldn't get more intense, something else happened. And the original source of the leak, the alleged former manager in Yemen, went completely silent. No posts, no statements, no denial, nothing. Gone. And that silence, that's what has people the most worried. Because in situations like this, Silence doesn't mean nothing. It usually means something big is happening behind the scenes, something we're not seeing, and maybe something we're not supposed to see. Because if those clips are real, and if that document is real, then this story isn't just about a leak anymore. It's about exposure on a level we've never seen before. And trust me, what's coming next might be even more shocking. At this point, the internet wasn't just reacting, it was detonating. Because the moment those new clips, especially the list, started circulating, everything changed. This wasn't gossip anymore. This wasn't celebrity drama. This felt like something dangerous, and people responded exactly how you'd expect when fear mixes with curiosity. They lost control. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, every platform turned into a battlefield. Hashtags were trending worldwide within minutes. Hashtag Cardi B exposed, hashtag 50 Cent documentary, hashtag the list leak, and the most chilling one of all, hashtag who is next yeah. That's where things got dark, because people weren't just watching anymore, they were anticipating, waiting, almost expecting another name to drop, another clip to leak, another career to collapse. And the theories, they got wild. One viral tweet with over 3 million views said, "This ain't no documentary. This is a whole operation, and we only seeing pieces." Another user wrote, "The way people going silent right now, that tells you everything." And they weren't wrong, because while fans were screaming online, artists were doing the exact opposite. Going quiet, deleting posts, canceling appearances, suddenly disappearing from social media. And that silence, it was loud. Because when people who are usually active just vanish like that, it doesn't feel random, it feels intentional. And in the middle of all this chaos, Cardi B herself, completely silent. No tweets, no Instagram stories, no responses, nothing. And that's what made people even more suspicious, because this is someone known for speaking up, clapping back, saying exactly what's on her mind. But now, nothing. And people started asking, why isn't she saying anything? Is she being told to stay quiet, or is she waiting for something? Because in situations like this, silence can mean a lot of things, but it rarely means everything is okay. Meanwhile, 50 Cent, same story. No new posts, no reactions. After days of cryptic captions and subtle hints, suddenly, nothing. And when both of them go silent at the same time, that's when people really start paying attention, because it feels coordinated, or worse, controlled. But here's where things get even more intense. Because celebrities started reacting without reacting. You know what I mean. Indirect posts, cryptic messages, things that don't say much, but say enough. One artist posted, "Some truths ain't meant for the public." Another said, "When the smoke clears, watch who's still standing." And then deleted it minutes later. Too late, though. Screenshots were already everywhere, and fans were analyzing every word. I'm trying to figure out who was involved, who was scared, and who knew more than they were letting on. But the real explosion happened when media outlets jumped in. Headlines started getting more aggressive. Explosive leak ties major artists to secret network. Industry in panic mode after documentary footage surfaces. Cardi B linked to viral clip. Questions remain. But here's the problem. Even the media didn't have clear answers, because for every report, there were 10 contradictions. Different sources, different interpretations, different narratives, and that confusion? That's what made everything worse. Because when people don't have answers, they create their own. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Fan theories turning into facts. Speculation turning into belief, and belief turning into division. Because now, the audience is split. Some people are defending Cardi B, saying she's being dragged into something she didn't start, that she's being set up, used as a distraction. But others? They're not buying it. They're saying she knew. She was involved. She just didn't think it would come out. And that divide? It's getting more intense by the hour, because nobody wants to be wrong, nobody wants to back down, and nobody knows the full truth. But here's the most unsettling part. Amid all the noise, a new report started spreading. Quietly at first, then louder. According to multiple unverified sources, there are more leaks coming. Not rumors, not speculation. Actual footage, longer, clearer, more revealing, and possibly more damaging. And the names involved? Bigger than anyone expects. Now imagine the tension. People refreshing their feeds every few seconds. Waiting. Watching. Expecting something to drop at any moment. Because at this point, it's not about if something happens, it's about when. And that anticipation, that fear, that curiosity, it's building. Fast. Because if what we've seen so far has already caused this much chaos, then what happens when the next leak drops? What happens when everything becomes undeniable? Because right now, we're still in the gray area. Still guessing. Still debating. But something tells me that's about to change. And when it does, there's no going back. Just when it felt like the internet couldn't take another shock, it happened. No warning, no build-up. Just a drop. A brand new video file, longer, clearer, and far more dangerous than anything we had seen before. The title alone made people stop scrolling. Uncut segment, do not release under any circumstances. And within seconds, it was everywhere. People clicked without thinking, because at this point, everyone knew something big was coming, but nobody expected this. The video allegedly opened with a direct-to-camera recording from 50 Cent. Not cinematic, not dramatic, just him. Serious, focused, and the energy? Completely different from anything we'd seen before. Then he said something that instantly sent chills through the internet. This wasn't supposed to come out like this. But since it did, let's stop pretending. Silence. That line alone changed everything. Because now it didn't feel like a leak anymore. It felt like confirmation. And then the footage shifted. Clips began playing. But not like before. These weren't random fragments. This was structured. Connected. Almost like a final piece of the puzzle being laid out. And at the center of it all, a timeline. A full breakdown of events, years, dates, names, moments that now suddenly made sense. And here's where the final twist hit. Because within that timeline, there was a section labeled Initial Entry Point, and next to it, a blurred image. A name partially hidden, but enough visible to send the internet into complete chaos. Because according to thousands of viewers analyzing frame by frame, that name appeared to be linked to someone from Cardi B's past management circle. Not just anyone, but someone who had been there during a critical moment in her career. And now, that changes everything. Because if this timeline is real, then this situation didn't start recently. It goes back years, way before the documentary, way before the leaks. Way before anyone was paying attention. And suddenly, that 8-minute leak doesn't look random anymore. It looks like a trigger. A starting point, but for what? Because as the video continued, another shocking moment appeared. A clip of a private conversation. 2 voices. One of them allegedly tied to that same former manager. And the other? Unknown. But what they said, that's what made people freeze. You think this ends with her? This goes way higher than that. Higher? Now the panic intensified. Because what does higher mean? More artists? Executives? Entire networks? And just when viewers thought they couldn't handle more, the final seconds of the video dropped something nobody expected. A message on screen. Plain, simple, but absolutely chilling. Part 4 contains everything. Wait. Part 4? Now the entire internet is asking the same question. There's more? Because if what we've already seen has caused this much chaos, then what could possibly be in part 4? What hasn't been revealed yet? Names? Proof? Things that can't be denied? And here's the part that makes this even more intense. Right after this video started going viral, both Cardi B and 50 Cent remained completely silent. No statements, no reactions, nothing. And that silence? It feels intentional. Like something is happening behind the scenes, something we're not seeing. Because at this point, it doesn't feel like chaos anymore. It feels like a controlled explosion. Like everything is being released piece by piece. For a reason. But whose reason? That's the real question, because if this is all planned, then someone is orchestrating it. Someone is deciding what comes out. And when. And that means we're not just watching a story unfold. We're being shown it, step by step, piece by piece, until everything is out. And when that final piece drops, there's no coming back from it, because reputations, careers, entire legacies could collapse overnight. But until then, we're stuck here, waiting, refreshing, watching. Because one thing is clear, this story is not over. Not even close. In fact, it feels like we're standing right before the biggest reveal of all. And when it happens, everything we thought we knew might change completely. Now, I need you to be honest with me. After everything you've just seen, what do you actually believe? Because this story, it's not clear anymore. It's not simple. And it definitely isn't over. Do you think Cardi B was pulled into something bigger? Or do you think she knew exactly what was going on this whole time? And what about 50 Cent? Is he exposing the truth or controlling the narrative before something even worse comes out? And that former manager? Why would they risk everything to leak those 8 minutes? Was it revenge, fear, or were they trying to warn us before it was too late? I want you to go down to the comments right now and tell me your theory. Don't hold back. Because honestly, some of the theories out there right now, they're wild. And a few of them, starting to sound a little too real. Also, if you've noticed anything in those clips that people aren't talking about yet, drop that too. Because sometimes, the smallest detail is the biggest clue. You make sure you like this video if you want me to keep digging into the story, and subscribe right now, because the second part 4 drops. And trust me, it will. We're going to break it down frame by frame. No missing details, no holding back, and turn on notifications. Because the next update could drop at any moment. And when it does, you do not want to be late, because if even half of what's being hinted at is real, then what's coming next might be the most shocking reveal we've ever seen. Stay ready, stay watching, and I'll see you in the next one, where this story might finally explode completely.